change to help race relations. It's well thought through, and one could argue it's full of merit. It actually received the most responses from readers of the Times than any other column that month. You always hear people say racism is still a major part of everyday life. Most people accept this premise without investigating it further, mainly because they agree with it, and secondly, they don't want to challenge it for fear of seeming like the racist in question. They also feel there's nothing they can do about it. It's racism. You can't change it. My problem with this statement is that it's too general. By using words like racism or racist, it keeps the notion distant and out there. It feels like a problem to be contemplated and discussed like a philosophical construct instead of a problem that could use a concrete solution, like a backed-up sink. Now, if we imagine racism as a backed-up sink, the solution becomes clearer. Unclog it. Look into the drain, see what's backing it up, and get that crap out of there. Now, the more practical question, how is this accomplished? How do we get people of different colors to learn to live in harmony? People smarter than me have struggled for eons twisting the sides of this societal Rubik's Cube while secretly fearing there is no real solution. I believe the answer lies in asking the right question. We should not ask, how do we get rid of racism? Our question should be, how do we turn racism into a sink? We could start with a name change. I know, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, to quote Shakespeare. But keep in mind, we're not trying to get rid of the smell of racism. That stink will probably be around forever. We're trying to ease the pain of it and clear the way for us to get along peacefully. That's right, we're unclogging the sink. Before I propose the name changes, let's first examine whether or not name change is effective. I would argue it's not only effective, but essential to success in many cases. Take actors, for example. Do you think rednecks would ever line up to see a movie starring a rugged all-American cowboy named Marion Morrison? Of course not. But if his name is John Wayne, the line is around the block and into the next county. Everybody loved Lucy, but do you think we would have even liked Diane Desiree Belmont? Nobody would have given a flying fuck. Back in the 20s, MGM actually had a contest for people to come up with the name for their budding starlet, Lucille Fay LeSueur. The winning name was Joan Crawford. It's unsure America would have cozied up to father figure Alfonso de Abruzzo to comfort them during the cynical 70s, but Al and Alda filled the bill perfectly. Sometimes the changes aren't that big, but still significant. Ving Rhames' real name is Irving Rhames. Ving was smart enough to realize that when you think about it, no brother should really ever be called Irving. And it's not just actors. Companies for years have realized the power of name changing, branding, as they call it. I can't imagine anyone wanting to back rub the internet for information, but we love to Google. You'll never catch me fiddling with my Marafuku, but I can't put down my Nintendo. And what science fiction movie did you walk into to buy that radar range? I'll stick with my microwave, thank you very much. You see where I'm going? You can't change the face of racism without changing the name. Change the way people feel about it. Brand it. Now, you may be asking, but Larry, why do we want to soften such a hateful word? Don't we want people to take it seriously? Yes. That's why I propose we leave the word racism alone. I suggest we change the term African American. African American as a brand is done. It served its purpose. It did what it was supposed to do, but now it's time for it to step aside. It's so 20th century anyway. First of all, no one really wants to be called African American anymore. You see, as a black, this politically correct term doesn't conjure up images of the struggle my people have faced in this country for several hundred years. When I hear African American, my mind doesn't snap back to the March on Selma or the bus boycotts. It doesn't stir up nostalgia for Joe Louis or the Harlem Renaissance. I'm not charged with pride by our victory over slavery or Tigers at the Masters. It doesn't even make my stomach growl for hog maws or black-eyed peas. It just makes me think of Africa. And to be blunt, I'm not that crazy about Africa. I mean, I know that's where we come from. It's our heritage and blah, blah, blah. Africa just makes me think of hot. A hot land.